left it all behind.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, once again, at this time, please make your way off the boat. If you have any alcohol in your hands, please finish it, because you cannot take it with you. Have a great school year. Hopefully we'll see you all
School year?
next year. I want to party for you guys.
Yeah.
I've reached a new low, or new high.
Once they said, yo, his hounds all over that property. They follow us on the quads. All day we're on these quads and these dogs are right behind us.
All right, everybody, just give me one moment and we will get started. Just gotta plug in the microphone here. Beautiful night in Manhattan. Okay, we are ready to go. Welcome, everybody. I want to welcome you all back to Walks on Wall Street. Today is September. Whoa. September 1st? Yeah. Get with the program. It is Friday, September 1st, 2023. And it is around 9:09 p.m. And we are reporting live from the beautiful 42nd Street, Hudson River Park, overlooking not only the sightseeing cruise, which is in front of us, but all of the Hudson Yards. It was a picture-perfect day in Manhattan today. Now, I will say this. Next week in the city, it's supposed to be a scorcher. 90-degree temperatures almost the entire week. So it doesn't look like we're going to get those fall temperatures anytime soon, based upon the weather report. Now, since today was the first day of the month and it was a Friday, we got some jobs numbers that we need to talk about, and I think it's going to be pretty important. Now, the jobs report came in at 187,000 jobs added in August, but the unemployment rate rose to 3.8%. Now, I want to rewind and take a little bit of a step back. 2 or 3 months ago, Fed President John Williams, who is the Fed president of the New York Fed, when he was asked, I believe this was a Reuters interview if I'm not mistaken, he was asked when the Federal Reserve would agree to start easing. Right, we are in a severe quantitative tightening cycle, and the million-dollar question on everybody's mind is when, if, is the Fed going to start easing. Now, John Williams' response was once unemployment hits 5%, at least. He said he wants to see unemployment in the United States at 5% before we even have the conversation on the table about going back to cutting interest rates and maybe stimulating the economy a little bit. So is this a step in the new norm, so to speak? Have we officially reached a trough in unemployment? And are we going to head higher from here? Now, the unemployment rate, which is calculated from a separate survey of households, it rose from 3.5% to 3.8%. That is the highest since February of 2022, the Labor Department said Friday. Now, that's because a surge of Americans into the labor force, which includes people working and looking for jobs. Economists surveyed by Bloomberg had estimated that 168,000 jobs were added. Yet payroll growth for June and July were revised down by, get this, a whopping 110,000 payrolls, portraying a much weaker picture of employment growth over the summer than previously thought. And job gains in August were expected to be affected by several unusual crosscurrents, making it tough to discern if the latest numbers reflect overall hiring trends or one-offs. Well, I actually have a couple theories here, one of which we've actually talked about before. I think you're starting to see all of the pandemic stimulus run its course. All of the excess savings run its course. If we rewind about a year ago, one of the things we were talking about on the stream is the Great Resignation. People were making more money than ever before. The job market was white hot, and the ball was in the court of the employees, right? The employees had all the negotiating leverage. They felt like they could get a job whenever they wanted. Many people went and launched and started their own businesses, and maybe some of those savings are coming down. So everybody is trying to get a job now at the same time. But guess what? The job market isn't what it was back in 2021, right? Jobs are relatively harder to come by now. Also, I think a lot of the severance, right, from that big round of layoffs that we had, is sort of coming to an end. So people are entering the labor force, looking for work aggressively all at once, and obviously being counted towards the unemployment rate. So I don't know. We'll talk about it a little bit more tonight. But the million-dollar question is this. Is unemployment only going to go up from here? This time next month, are we going to be talking about a 4% unemployment rate in the United States? I don't know. We'll talk about it. All right, everybody, I will go ahead and close up my laptop here. But before we get started, since it is the first day of the month, I want to wish, sincerely, I really do mean this, I want to wish everybody a very happy and blessed and prosperous September. It's a new start. It's a fresh, clean slate. And I'm confident that everybody watching this stream will be able to crush it and do whatever you want to do this September. All right, let me go ahead and close up the laptop. I'll say hello to everybody in the chat, and we will get started. It's a little bit up in the air what I want to do tonight. I don't know if I want to go downtown, uptown. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Anyway, give me a minute. All right, let me clip the microphone on here. And we should be good. You know, I was actually down in SoHo today. One of the next property tours that I'm going to film is at 74 Grand Street. Now, we just rented Unit 3 at 74 Grand. It rented for about $24,000 a month. And now we're taking all of the staging down, well, I should say up, or down from Unit 3 to Unit 2, and let me tell you, it is an unbelievable property. It's unbelievable. It has the original cast iron facades. It is a 32-ton cast iron facade. The whole thing is restored. It's a condo conversion, and on the inside, everything is brand new. The kitchen is ridiculous. It's all marble throughout, has a marble backsplash, has marble countertops, insane marble island with built-in all German appliances, so Miele appliances throughout the entire thing. You have wine cooler. It's just insane. I don't want to give too much away. I'll film it. And good friend Joe Driver, happy September to you. Savi is here, says hello Tom and everybody. My good friend Hawaii, thank you for joining us. Victor's here, D is here. The one and only British Gray from Tampa, Florida. Sherry Rodrigo, what's up? Victor AB1 is here as well. Good to see you. Enjoy the Decline is here. So what's up, dog? Big Task at Hand. Buy the book. Ming is here. Sana Shah, welcome. Deborah. RBC says happy Saturday morning here. Well, happy weekend to you. Tatted Tower is here. Says happy Friday, Tom and chat. Josh L says, do you venture out during the New York City Marathon weekend? You know, Josh, that's a good, it's actually a really good question. Now, back during my college days, I'm an old man now, but back during my college days, I actually volunteered at the New York City Marathon, passing out like waters and granola bars for the runners. It was actually a lot of fun. And I was stationed right as the runners come over from Staten Island to Brooklyn. Now, here's what I was thinking. And let me know what you guys think of this in the chat. And I really, really want to do this. I'm serious about it, by the way. I want to run the New York City Marathon right here live on the stream. So it's going to be a Walks on Wall Street New York City Marathon. I'm going to run it, but I'm going to live stream it. But here's the thing. All of the donations and all of the AdSense that we get through the stream, we'll take a poll, and then it'll donate to whatever charity that we collectively choose. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Now, the only thing is we have to qualify for the marathon. I think you have to qualify for the New York City Marathon. So here was my thought, okay? Let me know what you think. I was thinking about emailing somebody who I don't know, whoever runs the New York City Marathon, and I was thinking about just pitching them the idea. Hey, I have this channel, I want to live stream me running the marathon, and then any of the donations or YouTube advertisements we get, it'll automatically go to a charity that'll benefit, XYZ. I don't know. I think that'd be cool. Whoa. All right, we'll move around that. Hey, Robert's here. What's up? SME Media. Thanks for joining us. The Wizard, God bless. Seems like a lot of people are out tonight. I don't know where we're gonna head. Maybe we'll go to 42nd Street, we'll go down, and then maybe we'll check out the West Village tonight. Seems like everybody's getting off this boat tour. Let's just navigate some of the traffic here for a moment. This place is always busy, it seems. Hey, Marco says it was only... Yeah, I think that would be interesting. I think people would like to see what the New York City Marathon roadway looks like live. We'll see. Hey, touring different places. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Vincent is here. I see my friend Gary Carpenter. CA2. It's always great to support a cause. Indeed. Indeed, indeed. Rex A is here. Custom built American fire trucks. Thank you for joining. All right, so I guess we'll jump right into it. I don't want to spend too much time tonight on the financial topics. It is Friday night and I had a crazy week. But unemployment in the United States, as we cross Hudson River Drive here, unemployment ticked up a little bit. Now, I guess you could look at this from two, sort of like both sides of the coin here. Because there's one camp, particularly like equities traders, who are, really trying to persuade the Fed and saying, oh, monetary conditions are way too tight. We need to start easing again. We need to start cutting interest rates. And then you have another camp that says, well, I think it's appropriate to stay higher for longer because, unemployment is still near all-time record lows in the United States, and savers are once again being rewarded. So I don't know, do you think this is a new paradigm that we are entering into? And are we on the trajectory where this time next month, we're going to be talking about a 4% unemployment rate in the United States? Or do you think this is just a temporary blip in the equation? I don't know. Let me know. Hey, Cooking is here. What's up? Lots of viewers from Argentina. I see Charles Hong says, hey Tom, from DC. Welcome. Carol's here, says happy Friday. Good to see you, Carol. Thanks for joining us. We're crossing 12th Avenue. You have the one and only Intrepid up and to the left, the famous Intrepid Museum. And this is the Labor Day weekend. So usually what happens, and we've gone over this many times, but once the Labor Day weekend has concluded, that is when reality sets in for the market. Traders are back at their desks. Everybody's back from the Hamptons, from Martha's Vineyard, their summer homes, and volumes really start to pick up on the exchanges again. Now, historically, if you look at price performance of all of the major equity indices in the United States, the NASDAQ, the S&P 500, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average, September's the worst month for stocks. September is the worst month for stocks. So, could this unemployment number that came out over the long Labor Day weekend sort of spook the markets? And once traders are back at their desks, are we going to see a big risk-off situation? I don't know. Hey, Connie is here. What's up? John's here from Arizona. Good to see you. Sunshine after rain. Thanks for being a good moderator. Darren Steff says, good evening, Thomas. My partner and I are coming. Hold on, let me pull off the side to read this comment. Oh, we're coming out to New York on Sunday for 2 weeks. We hope to meet you. Likewise, man. That's awesome. Wow, 2 weeks. Where are you staying? Are you staying in a hotel, Airbnb, or do you have like a pied-à-terre here that you usually stay at? Let us know. I'd love to meet up. Send me an email. I think my email's in the description somewhere. Smee Meany says next month I think there will be lower unemployment because of the prepping for the holiday season. Interesting. Now I really think what has to do a lot with this, check out this dog. This is like a Beagle Dachshund. Oh no, it's not. It's a Corgi. I thought it was a Beagle Dachshund mix. I couldn't see its face though. I really think what's happening is a lot of the folks that the severance is running out, they're starting to enter back into the workforce looking for jobs, and they're going to register and hit that number. Also, I think you're seeing a really big shift here from what happened during the pandemic. Remember, every article you would read in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, was involving the Great Resignation. And we actually had a couple live streams talking about this specifically, that all of the negotiating power was really in the hands of the employees, right? Demanding higher wages, better pay, better hours. But that doesn't stay like that all the time. I think that was a really temporary effect. And it is my view that the tides are now turning back into the favor of the employers. I think the employers are going to have a lot more negotiating leverage here. And this is happening when you're seeing a couple data points collide here. We've been talking about how consumer credit, remember We talked about consumer credit data that was reported by the Federal Reserve. Credit card balances, okay? So balances on credit cards are reaching all-time record highs. Right at a time where we have some of the highest interest rates we've seen in the United States in over 10 years, right? And as we all know, consumer credit is the worst kind of debt to have because it is very expensive. Just look at your APY on a credit card. Some people have over 20% interest on their credit cards. So is this a sign that consumers are stressing and straining a little bit? Have all of their built up savings throughout the pandemic significantly come down? And are they forced to enter the workforce at the same time, thus hitting that number and actually being counted as well in the labor force participation rate? Hey, DC322 says, I'm not sure if the employers will have leverage. The workers may still wield bargaining power. Perhaps. It's a good thought. Now, we have been seeing this very interesting movement that's been sweeping the United States. I don't know if it's always been this way. Oh, they have the zip tie handcuffs. But it seems as if every time I turn on the news or look at Twitter or something like that, there's labor union organizations and protests sweeping pretty much all industries, right? We've heard this happen. I'll wait till these guys go a little bit. We've heard this happen with Starbucks. We heard this happen with Amazon, particularly the warehouse workers. And I would say most recently and most notably in New York City and LA, big cities, with the actors, right? I think that strike is still going on. So I think we're hitting a critical mass in the country where you have this animosity between the workers and the big corporations. It seems like there needs to be a breaking point or a point of bubbling up. But then the other part of my mind is like, this has probably always been going on. Actually, I know for a fact it's always been going on because I used to be in a union. Local 1101. If you guys actually want to look this up, it's interesting. My labor union I think we were the first to strike in like 30 years. This was 2015. And I remember actually going to the picket lines. We had to. Anyway, I'm rambling, but hey, Lou72, what's up? Good to see you. Now you can see the connector where all the buses come in to the Port Authority bus terminal. It's actually probably going to be pretty crowded today. Hey, Vincent says we will be up in New York City tomorrow and looking forward to it. Oh yeah, Vincent, that was you who sent me that email. It's awesome. I think I still need to send you that list of recommendations I have. Hey, RK, this is Tom. What's the latest news on student loan debt? Well, I think you guys have been following that more than me. Now, if I'm not mistaken, please correct in the chat. But if I'm not mistaken, I think the student loan payments start here pretty soon. So is that another factor that's going to add to this magic elixir of people really needing to step their foot on the gas to try to, make more money, get another job, get a better paying job? Because we had that student loan forbearance since the pandemic. And student loan payments are going to be starting up again. So fortunately for me, I never had student loans, but I know a lot of people who do, unfortunately, and it's a real travesty. And I think the situation got so far out of hand. I don't want to blame it on one person, but I think it's a couple things at work here. Number one, I think the government should get out of the business in guaranteeing the student loans, because that essentially takes away all free market in the system. So if these colleges know for a fact that the students will be able to get whatever amount they want to go to college, well, there's no incentive for these schools and universities to be competitive with price, right? There's just no point. If anything, with the current system we have in place in the United States, colleges are incentivized to keep building more facilities, to keep adding these administrators that are making $100,000 a year. Because they could just raise the tuition because they know the students will be able to pay for it because the government's going to guarantee the loan, right? I could walk into a loan office and take out, $200,000 worth of student loan debt. But if I try to, get a mortgage on a house, well, there's going to be some significant underwriting there, right? They're going to check my income. They're going to do income verification. They're going to check my credit score. They're probably going to ask for references, right? They're going to do background checks. But with student loans, it's pretty much just like a stamp of approval, here you go, just because it's education. So, I don't know. I think that has sort of caused this issue of not only colleges being so expensive, but these massive student loan balances. So, but I definitely agree with you. I think it's going to be a big factor and a big hit on consumer sentiment too, probably. All right, let's just get around this guy here. Once again, we are walking down 42nd Street towards Times Square. We're going to have the Port Authority bus terminal coming up on our right. Loose 72 says GI Bill should stay for veterans 100%. Yeah, I mean, if it were up to me, right, if I was the president, it's my view that if you serve this country, you should have your education paid for 100%, and you should be able to go wherever you want. I mean, that's like the ultimate sacrifice of not only your time, but you're risking your life as well. I think the least this country could do. I mean, we funnel billions of dollars around the world to fund all these proxy wars. The least we could do is just give our veterans a free education. Yeah, where do you want to go? Here's a check. I think that's totally worth it. I don't know, not to get too controversial, but that's my view. Now, the military does have great programs. They pay for education. You can learn great skills and trades there. So I agree with you 100%. Oh, guys, this is what we saw last night. Who remembers that from last night's live stream? Hey, this is the, what is it called? Hey, good to see you. This is what we saw yesterday by the, I'm getting confused with the tunnels, the Holland Tunnel. This is the free bike parking here. And they run advertising at the top. And they use the money that they make on the digital ads to give everybody free parking for their bikes. Look at that. Now, the one by the Holland Tunnel was absolutely empty. This one is packed. I think it's a cool idea. So it's 100% free parking for your bike. So you're not going to have people like tampering with your stuff. And the way they offer it for free is they have this sign up here and it runs advertising. And I told you guys last night, I actually used to work with a company who does something similar. And the company is called Colvanta, but they do this with like water stations outside of 7-Elevens, I think Kroger's and Walmart. I think maybe Sam's Club and BJ's as well. So they have routers, like these Cradle Point routers or Teltonica routers that they insert SIM cards in. And they have an agreement with an MVNO. And an MVNO essentially wholesales data from all the major carriers. So once you have an internet connection, you can then pull your advertising reel from AWS or Azure or Google Cloud, and it'll run advertising 24/7, 365, making money. and then they could offer these people free parking for their bikes. I think that's such a cool idea. I'd love to see the financials and see how that works out, but anyway. All right, everybody, we've officially made it to 42nd Street, Times Square. We're on the corner of 8th Avenue. Seems like a pretty busy night. To our right is the Port Authority bus terminal. Lots of people out. Connie's here, so this is such a great idea. Never seen it until last night. Yeah, I think it's good. As you know, I don't need to tell you guys, in the city, there's a very big problem with theft, particularly if you're gonna lock a bike up. I'll give you an example as we wait for this light. You see that bike locked up against this sign here? If they were to leave that overnight, all of the wheels would be gone, the handlebars would be gone, and the seat would be gone. Now, if you're just walking into a store for, maybe 15 or 20 minutes, then fine, right? You could sort of leave it there. But overnight, the thing is totally going to be stolen in a million pieces. Hey, the 79FH. Good to see you. Thanks for joining. Hey, Jolie's colleges should not rely on the government to help students pay for tuition. The colleges should be held accountable for their costs. Well, I think that's the point, right? The reason why costs have been able to get so crazy out of hand is, look at, we talk about corporations here on the live stream a lot, right? It's called Walks in Wall Street. So over the years, think about corporate bloat. Corporate bloat, all these HR people at these companies, duplicity in positions. Have you ever gone to work and you're like, what does this guy even do? Or what does this girl even do? They don't do anything. Their job could be they could just easily be fired and the company would run as normal. Well, the same thing has happened at many universities across the United States. It's called administrative bloat at these colleges. Now, it's allowed to go on because the top line at these colleges and universities keep growing, almost exponentially. They keep growing because they can raise the tuition every single year, and they know that they're always going to have somebody to pay for it. So if you weren't allowed, or maybe I shouldn't use that term allowed, I'm just trying to go through the crowd here, but if nobody was guaranteed to get the loan, and it worked the same way as if you wanted to get a mortgage, right? They would check your credit score. They would check your income verification, right? They would do background checks, all that stuff. If it worked the same way, well, they would say, well, you're a 17-year-old kid, you don't make any money, so no, I'm not gonna let you take out $200,000 worth of loans. So the colleges would need to figure something out. They would either need to downsize their employee count. They may have to, close down one of the 30 swimming pools that they built. At a lot of these colleges, it's almost become like an adult playground a little bit. Now, I'm a big fan of college. I think college is great. So I'm not trying to sound like I'm dumping on college, but there's real problems in the US. And I think with the government subsidizing all these loans, it's created this big issue. So, all right, let's work our way through Times Square and then maybe we'll head downtown. But boy, is it packed in Times Square tonight. Now, this used to be the McDonald's. Who remembers this? This actually used to be the flagship McDonald's at Times Square. This thing has been closed down for a long time now. Hey, Ben Cunningham, what's up? This is government funding drives up costs, happen with HUD housing, healthcare, college tuition, etc. Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you try to manipulate the free market, it's going to drive up costs. Now, there's, I respect both sides of the argument. Now, some people would disagree with me, which is fine. But, I mean, think about it if we want to move back to the financial markets. over the last decade, where have asset prices gone? And I'm not just talking about equities, I'm talking about valuations of real estate, talking about homes. Well, they've gone one way, and that's higher. And the reason for that is because the Federal Reserve essentially has been setting the price of money at pretty much zero, right? So big institutional investors, wealthy people were able to take on massive amounts of debt or leverage for free. So if you can borrow money at near zero interest rates to then go out and buy investments, buy equities, buy stocks, buy real estate, well, valuations are going to go up. Now the problem is, over the last decade, really only wealthy people were able to get access to a lot of that cheap money, right? Very, very seldom did you have, the middle class and the poor able to get access to all that free, cheap money. It's always the top 5% and the corporations that can raid essentially the piggy bank of the United States and the Federal Reserve. Hey, Joan K, what's up? Good to see you. Steve B, welcome. Yeah, Steve, I think the next one is probably going to be 74 Grand Street. So I'm looking forward to that too. Jamie the Rooster says buy brand new cars is the best. Yeah. Loose 72, welcome. KM says YouTube is going to replace colleges. I don't know. I mean, my take is this. All of the studies show, right? Every single study shows that if you go to college and you get a degree, you're going to make significantly more money than somebody who doesn't go. That's just a statistical fact, right? So the ROI, the return on investment from going to college is absolutely there. Now, the problem is doing the cost-benefit analysis of should I spend $100,000 on a major that's not going to garner me a lucrative career, right? Not to name any specific major, but if you're going to spend the $100,000 a year, well, I think if you go into the STEM field or if you study computer science or something like that, and look at the data, well, you're probably going to get a really good job that's probably going to pay you $100,000 or more out of college, right? Especially if you work on Wall Street or one of these big tech companies. But if you just go to a liberal arts school and take out a bunch of student loans and you major in something that's not going to garner you a high-paying job, well then yeah, that's probably not worth it. So, unfortunately, the educational system in the United States really doesn't explain that to the kids. It wasn't explained to me. I think we had this conversation last night when I said, when I was in high school, the guidance counselors are just like, yeah, just pick a school and just go. There was no talk about cost at all. So, all right, let's do a little bit of a detour here. We'll head down to 40th Street, right near the Joe's Pizza. So many people out in New York tonight. It's packed. Hey, EMB says, Tom, have you spoken about bricks recently? Yeah, I think that's like a non-issue. And a lot of people disagree with me. There's this big narrative on the street, on Wall Street and on Main Street, that bricks is going to be the new world reserve currency. And the United States dollar is going to be a thing of the past. And the US economy is going to be in severe decline, and China is going to take over, and all this stuff, yada, yada, yada. I think that's totally wrong. I disagree with that narrative in its entirety. Look what's going on in China right now. It's a total economic free fall, particularly in the housing market. And there's a lot of people in the middle class in China that's going to be fleeced. That's going to lose out on a lot, right, with this Evergrande situation. So the grass isn't always greener, right? Let's just say that. The grass isn't always greener. And if you think about all of the new innovative companies, this is Joe's Pizza, by the way, huge line. If you think about all of the innovative companies, all of the new innovative technologies, they're happening in the United States. That's just a fact. Now, are some countries going to be able to compete? And are we going to see new and emerging technologies coming out of China? Maybe, but not to the extent that it's going to come out of the United States. And I think we're already positioning ourselves in a very good way, particularly with investing in infrastructure for semiconductors and the like. You know, I think that's one of the things that I agree with the Biden administration on, is the Chips and Science Act. Now, it's not going to be an overnight light switch, right? It's not like we're going to, snap our fingers, flip a switch, and all of the semiconductor manufacturing and capacity is going to come right back to the United States. No, it's going to take a long time. But if you actually look at the production process for semiconductors, I think one of the most important pieces there is actually the design of these chips, right? So you have your semiconductor design, right? So the intellectual capital that designs these chips, then you have the manufacturing and the fabrication. Much of the innovative design in these very, very advanced microchips happen here in the United States and Canada. What's happened, right, over the years, quite obviously, is just manufacturing is much, much cheaper abroad. Now, I think the United States government and the Canadian government have really woken up to this and said, okay, if we look at the majority of the future economic growth, where is it going to come from? Well, chances are it's going to come from a few things. Cloud computing, machine learning, artificial intelligence, clean and green energy, and number 5, I would say, autonomous vehicles and EVs. Okay, if we agree on that, if we agree that the vast majority of economic growth and expansion is going to happen in those 5 categories, well, what one commonality do they all have? Well, you need semiconductors and you need chips in order to power that. There's twice as many semiconductors and chips in an EV as opposed to a regular traditional internal combustion engine. So who wants to own all of the manufacturing capacity of the one thing that's going to drive all the economic growth? Well, it obviously every country does. So I think the US is taking the necessary appropriate steps to onshore a lot of that manufacturing. And I think this whole virus, COVID, I think China really shot themselves in the foot with it. Because the one country that was dragging on with these lockdowns more than anybody else was China. And that really took a toll on the supply chain. So I think everybody's waking up and saying, well, look, if there's ever another virus and China goes into complete and total lockdown, we can't afford to have our supply chain be backlogged 2.5 years again. So companies, including Apple, including Tesla, and many others, are saying, look, we do not trust China, and we are going to rip the manufacturing capacity away from China and bring it back to places like the United States, bring it to places like India, bring them to places like Canada and Mexico. And that's what we're seeing in real time. You know, Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, actually said that they're starting to move manufacturing capacity of their iPads away from China and give it to India. So those are my thoughts. I don't know, this is a beautiful shot of One Vanderbilt here. Looks like there's a big salsa dance here. Look at that. Let me zoom in. You always see crazy stuff in New York, especially on Friday night. Look at that. Very cool. That's one of the things I love about New York. You could just be walking any random block and you're gonna have something crazy happening. Now, is the US perfect? No, it's not perfect at all. But it's the least worst thing in the world. I'll say that. Hey, UniJ23, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Desi is here, welcome. All right, let's get away from all this music. I'm actually getting a little bit of a headache. I feel like there's been too much music this stream. Hey, James Yunt says United States needs to provide the infrastructure so that we cannot be dependent upon the Chinese factories because of the pressure to convert to electric vehicles. Well, I think you're starting to see that slowly but surely. Now, with EVs in particular, I think the most important race, so to speak, with that is going to be a lot of these rare earths. So, cobalt, nickel, and the like. Now, the problem is this, actually, and thank you for your very kind $5 donation, Desi. Thank you so much for your kindness. The problem with a lot of the cobalt is it's actually produced in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And there, that is not ethically sourced at all. They have slave labor there, and they have child labor. So, you know, a lot of these environmentalists and green people that are all gung-ho, you know, EVs, and nothing else, you really got to understand how a lot of these rare earths are sourced. And if we're going to meet the deadline that the government supposedly set forth to have, what is it, 100% of the manufacturing capacity in terms of vehicles be EVs by 2030? Something like that, give or take. I forget what the exact thing is, but if we actually want to meet that requirement, well, we're going to need to find a lot of these rare earths and fast, and very, very fast. So, hey, Max is here. He says, believing we are too big to fail is what brought us to selling out our respected industrial landscape. Yeah, aren't those the famous last words, too big to fail? Now, I don't think that per se the US is too big to fail. I always like to recommend Ray Dalio's book. Has anybody ever read Ray Dalio's new book? One of them is Principles, and then he came out with the other one. But every single empire sort of runs its cycle. And it is widely thought that the US is sort of at the top, or it's the peak of its cycle, right? And every empire has one, right? Every empire has a rise and a fall. Now, are these the famous last words? It's different this time? Well, I guess we'll find out. This is Bank of America Tower here. Beautiful. But I don't know. It's my view that if you have to have a global perspective and look at everywhere else in the world, right? People are not necessarily beating down the doors to get into Russia, so to speak. Okay, they're doing it in the United States. People want to come here to start businesses. People want to come here immigration is coming to the United States. I'm not sure if you've turned on the news lately, right? What are we dealing with in New York City? We're dealing with a migrant crisis to the tune of 100,000 people that have risked their lives, treacherous journeys with no money just to come here. No plans, just to come here to escape where they came from, right? So long as that messaging is intact, right, that the United States is a place where you can come and build something and have a shot at the American dream, that is very unique to the US. That is very, very unique to America. And I think so long as that framework and that fabric remains intact, well, I think the best is yet to come, right? In terms of the innovation, in terms of the new products and services that the US is going to churn out. It's really the golden goose of capitalism. And if I had to make a bet, right, if you just had to say, if I had two options, over the next 10 years, is the US economy going to grow or is it going to shrink? 100% I put all my money on it's going to grow. That's without even a shadow of a doubt, in my view. Just think about it, and I want everybody that's listening to this live stream right now, just think about what your life was like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Think about what you were doing. Think about the types of products and services that you were interacting with. Think about the type of money you were making 10, 15 years ago. And now think about where you are right now. The world has just accelerated and advanced at a blistering speed. It's unbelievable. So, I don't know, that's what I would say. Any thoughts on that? Agreements, disagreements with that? Hey, Lucrative, good to see you. Thanks for joining. Wabs Banks, welcome. Max says, Tom, other nations' citizens have global perspective. A large swath of the American population are blind to global crisis and government corruption. Well, it's sort of like you don't know how good you have it until you don't have it anymore, right? It's kind of like, everybody knew that one kid in high school that grew up super spoiled, right? I'm sure we've all known that one kid at the high school that grew up like super rich, had a silver spoon in his mouth, but somehow still found the nerve to complain. I think that's America. I mean, we don't really understand how good we have it. Like, my God, guys. Particularly if you're in a city like New York or you're in Miami. I mean, these people are spending, $100 on brunch, $200 on brunch. You go to work every day in a freaking, $250 million Class A office tower with sweeping views of Manhattan in air condition, okay? 90% of the world does not have that. So if you are in America and you have a job and you have an apartment and you have enough money to feed yourself, you are better off than 90% of human beings on this planet. And I think people can forget that a lot. So that's a good point. I think you have to have perspective. You have to have a global perspective. And Americans are spoiled. So am I. I'm spoiled, right? Chances are almost everybody watching this live stream is spoiled, right? If we're honest. Really, be honest. I am. I went to work today. I was showing an apartment that's going to rent for $24,000. Then I had lunch with the client, and now I'm streaming to 800 people that are my friends. It's an unbelievable life in the United States. So I'm all jacked up, I'm all amped up about the US, and I'm more bullish than ever. So anyway, this is East 42nd Street and Madison Avenue. Look at this. One Vanderbilt. Absolutely amazing. I've yet to go up to the top. I've actually yet to go all the way to the top of One Vanderbilt and look at the observation deck. But speaking of American exceptionalism and all the crazy, amazing things that are going on in the US, one of our amazing friends, viewers on the stream, invited me to the American Express Centurion Lounge next week. So next week, I hope to get some footage for you all at the top of One Vanderbilt at the Amex Centurion Lounge. Has anybody in the chat been to that lounge at One Vanderbilt? And if so, what do you think? Was it good? Was it bad? What did you think? Hey, Mighty Bull is here. What's up? Good to see you. And thank you for your very generous $2 donation. I appreciate it very, very much. RB, thank you so much for joining. I mean, just look at this. This is the gorgeous Grand Central Terminal right here on East 42nd Street and Vanderbilt Avenue. You're overlooking the one and only Pershing Square Bridge and the beautiful Chrysler Building. It's amazing. I mean, just look around you. You have all of these mega tall skyscrapers going up. You have 270 Park Avenue going up. I mean, there's opportunity and wealth and money all around us, and everybody wants to come here to do that. So the USA is a one-way street, and I think it's going to continue to be like that. So, hey, Daryl, what's up? Good to see you, Daryl from Chicago. Welcome. Jafet Perez is joining us. Dusty Cole, thank you for joining, my friend. This is true, we are, but some people, less wealthy countries, can be just as happy or more. Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, Dusty. I'm just talking about like the opportunity and instant access to things. So when we see a lot of these doom and gloom articles on the internet, especially this one that's been sent to me, I mean, I love you guys to death, but this one article about Michael Burry shorting the S&P 500, the largest short position he's ever had, that has literally been sent to my email 50 times. That's not an exaggeration. And this stuff freaks people out. Now, I'm not saying there's never going to be another stock market decline. I'm not saying there's not going to be another recession. Of course there will. That's a guarantee. It is literally a guarantee that there is going to be another stock market crash. There's going to be another housing crisis. There's going to be all types of stuff because that's what an economic cycle looks like. But it's not the end of the world. Out of every single recession, what comes after? Comes a big economic boom. So, I mean, look, in the United States, I still think there's a lot of opportunity here, and the biggest opportunities are actually created in recessions. So, all right, I'm debating on whether we should take one quick walk around Grand Central Terminal. Lewis says, I do believe the S&P is going to go down. Maybe. I mean, you're actually probably right. September is the worst month for stocks. So statistically, I mean, you actually may probably be right on that. September is one of the worst months in stock market history, is September. Hey, Chinook Wins is here. What's up? RB says, Tom, I was born in Cuba, which was trashed by commies. It is absolutely a one-way highway to the US, the beacon of promise. Dude, I'm so glad you're here. It's an amazing story. Now, in downtown Miami, my favorite building in all of downtown Miami is the Freedom Tower that sits just across the street from the Miami Heat Arena. And that is where the majority of Cuban immigrants in the United States actually landed. That's an amazing building. Hopefully we'll actually be able to go back to Miami. Maybe next week, we'll see. And yeah, no problem. And we'll check it out. But I agree with you, sir. I'm glad you're here. All right, we'll do one quick lap around Grand Central Station. We do have a lot of new people here. And look at this architecture. Look at all the beautiful crown moldings. Look at the stained glass windows. It's such attention to detail. It's amazing. Hey, Everyday Sweden is here. It says, Tom, if the market goes down, I'll rebalance my portfolio and buy more stocks. If the market goes up, vice versa. Sounds like a pretty good plan to me. Sounds like a good plan to me. I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. RKs, yeah, I can't advise on anything. We can have open discussions about the markets, but I'm not licensed to give financial advice, so I can't make statements like that. Speaking of America, guys, look at that. 10 out of 10 on that flag, man. That's awesome. Now, I always like to recite this Peter Lynch quote, right? Every time we want to talk about the United States. And you could actually pull this data and do the studies yourself. On average, if you want to talk about American corporations, right? So companies in the S&P 500, the Dow, and the like, right? American companies. On average, corporate profits in the US grow at about 8% a year. Now, we have earnings recessions and the like, but on average, if you look at the history of corporate America and you average out earnings growth, it's roughly 8% a year, right? If that holds true, okay, think about when Peter Lynch was running money. So for those of you who don't know Peter Lynch, he was the head mutual fund manager for the Fidelity Magellan Fund. So think about all of the products and services, all of the technology and the innovation way back 30 years ago when Peter Lynch was running money, and think about all the stuff now. If anything, I would bet that US corporations grow corporate profits probably at 10 or 11% from here on out, right? Just because of all the operational efficiencies that are going to be happening, right? There was a KPMG, I'm not sure if you guys read this. There was a report by KPMG, which is a major consulting firm, right? You could think about KPMG, Deloitte, EY. And it was talking about the expansion or the potential mass expansion of gross margins due to AI, right? Artificial intelligence. So automation, artificial intelligence, if it can expand gross margin by 10% across the board at all these corporations, well, what do you think is going to happen to EPS, right? Earnings per share, corporate earnings. It's going to explode, if anything. So, look, technology is not only deflationary, but it's been proven, well, I think generally it's been proven to make the world better. But I know that there's some people that are like, oh, but what about addiction to social media? What about the depression rates and all this? And I think we could point to that, and those are good points. But I think the net is a big positive. I think the net is still a big positive. I don't know. Hey, Joel PM, what's up? Good to see you, Joel. Now, if you guys have been enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. We usually do these streams every day starting at 8:30 p.m. We'd love to have you here. Hey, Edwin Miller, this is great conversation. Tom, you're restoring my faith in America. I try my best. It's September 1st. We got to start the month off with the bang. We can't be all pessimistic. We got to get with the program here. All right, we're back right outside 1 Vanderbilt. I always like standing here and looking the other way because you have this great view of the Chrysler Building. I think I'll probably take you guys to Sutton Place tonight. It'll be a nice quiet place. Hey, Haas Manning, what's up? Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Jafet Perez is Q4. Yeah, we are. We are in the thick of it now. Brad's Brain, what is going on from H-Town? Always a pleasure to have you here. Hello to all of our Brazilian viewers. Lewis. Let me go back to Lewis's comment. This is Tom, what do you think about normal 9-to-5 wages going down in the next 3 to 5 years? I don't think wages will go down in 3 to 5 years. I don't think that. I think wages will continue to go up. Now, it's true that wages have not kept up with inflation, but generally speaking, I think wages are going to go up over the next 10 years. Hey, Tariq Khan is here. What's up, man? Tariq, I want your thoughts on the jobs number today. 187,000, but unemployment ticked up. We were having an interesting conversation about it. I'd love to know your thoughts on it. Joel PM says, I've been hearing more narrative of wage price spiral. Yeah, well, I mean, CPI, I guess, wouldn't really corroborate with that theory, I guess. At least not in my mind. Now, that's an interesting thing to talk about, Joel PM, because really the one thing that could potentially, make the CPI go down in a massive way. It's already gone down from 9.1% to right around 3.5%, 3%. And that is shelter costs coming down. Now, today we got the new unemployment number at 3.8%. And we've been going back and forth on this channel saying, in order for real estate prices to fall, right, everybody wants to go back and make the comparison to 2008. Well, what happened in 2008 was everybody lost their jobs and they couldn't afford to pay their mortgage, right? Due to a multitude of things, right? Adjustable rates and so on and so on. Now, the argument now is homeowners have record equity in their homes. That's number one. Number two, unemployment is at record lows. So if people are employed, well, guess what? They're probably going to make their mortgage payments. And number three, the vast majority of people who have a mortgage outstanding in the United States have a below 5% interest rate. So there needs to be some sort of catalyst to sort of throw people out of work and to have the unemployment rate go up. And when the unemployment rate goes up, people obviously are out of jobs, they're not getting paid. And if you're not getting paid and you have no income coming in, well, you can't pay your rent, you can't pay your mortgage, and maybe that will put some supply on the market, force people to sell their homes. But I don't know. I don't know if this is just a one-off. Because if you look at the resales market, you're still not seeing a lot of inventory on the market from resales. The only way I can sort of explain, not to sound super repetitive, but the unemployment rate going higher is everything we've been talking about as it relates to severances running out, savings from the pandemic running out, and people are finally starting to say, okay, now I got to look for a job. I got to re-enter the workforce. I had my COVID fun of, sitting at home and trying to start my side business. That didn't work out, or something of that nature, right? Your severance pay is running out from when you got laid off. I don't know. We'll see. Lewis is bearish next 6 months on S&P because of wages. You may be right. RB says 8% and higher is possible. Oh, for unemployment you're talking about? Wow, 8% unemployment. We'll see. Let me read that comment. RB says 8% and higher is possible. However, government intrusion is always a factor, and especially with its access and control of data. Tariq says we are going up, but for how long? New York City, I hear, is recommending masks this weekend. Really? Recommending masks this weekend? I think directly linked to what comes next with unemployment numbers. Huh. Now, if you're getting at what I think you're getting at, if there's ever another lockdown, oh yeah, it's a wrap. Call it a day. I mean, the unemployment rate is gonna spike just like it did during the first lockdown. So I'm not sure if that's what you're getting at, but if it is what you're getting at, then oh yeah. I mean, if there's another forced lockdown where you know, offices closed, people can't go to work, then of course you're going to see a repeat of 2020. RB, you're talking about profit margins. Got it. Hey, Brad's Brain says, Tom, credit card debt, I think it's being ignored, and it's a result of exactly what you just lined out. Yeah, I mean, that's another thing. I think we've mentioned that before, but you're 100% correct. Household consumer debt is at record levels, right? Consumers are carrying higher credit card balances than ever before, just at a time when interest rates are extremely high, right? I mean, talk about a magic elixir, that is, right? That's the number one thing that you really should never ever do, is carry high interest bearing credit card debt. Maybe some people don't have a choice. And I'm not trying to sound judgy here, but this is the Westin Hotel. This is actually a pretty nice hotel. I've actually stayed here once for a work thing. It's actually really nice. This is looking back all the way down 42nd Street. You have One Vanderbilt here. Hey, 5 Minutes of Fame is here. It says, interesting. Yeah, somebody says, Tom, I heard that 10% of car, or a large percent of car payments now are over $1,000. I heard that too. I can't even fathom that, paying $1,000 for a car note. That's insane. All right, I'm really excited about this because we're finally going in the right direction. And we're going to be able to go to beautiful Sutton Place tonight. Now, Sutton Place is all the way on the east side of Manhattan. It is very quiet, very, very beautiful, and you have some of the most amazing views in all of New York City, but not the traditional views that you're probably thinking of. This is more geared towards the east side, Roosevelt Island, Queens. And you know what I just thought about? Since it's Friday, maybe we'll go all the way up to 59th Street and we could jump on the Roosevelt tram. I don't think we've ever done that on the live stream before. I know Haas Manning says Sutton Place is extremely charming, so not NYC. It's an awesome place. Now, again, it just depends on what your personality is. I think Sutton Place jives very well with my personality. Some people like to live amongst all the action, right? Some people want to live in a big high-rise in Midtown Manhattan, right there on 42nd Street. But, you know, especially if you have kids or something like that, and you're working all day in Midtown, it's kind of nice to come back to a place that's a lot quieter and secluded and sort of tucked away. Now, you're really going to get a really good idea of what I'm talking about here, especially if you've been watching the stream from the start. We started this live stream 42nd Street. We walked directly through Times Square. It was loud. There were people. I mean, it was like a zoo. It was crazy. Now, as we head further, this is 2nd Avenue, by the way. We're going to walk one more over, and then we're going to bang a left. You're actually going to see some buildings and architecture that very seldom we show on the stream, but you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about as it relates to very quaint and quiet neighborhoods. Generally co-ops, there's going to be very light on the street traffic, very light on the foot traffic. It almost will feel as if you're not even in Manhattan, especially the contrast of what we just walked through. So very excited about that. We'll go over one more and we'll take you through some of the most coveted blocks, in my opinion anyway, of Sutton Place. Hey, GGNYC, what's up? This makes you feel like, yeah, you actually have a house in Manhattan, yeah. The views are amazing. I've taken you guys here a bunch of times, but for all those new viewers, I think it's cool to show everybody. Hey, 5 minutes of fame. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Says, everyone enjoy Labor Day weekend. I love walks on Wall Street. I am going to Mulberry Street tomorrow. Oh, that's awesome. For your wife's birthday dinner. That is fantastic. You know, I was down in that area today. You're going to love it. You are going to absolutely love it. I was doing a showing at Grand Street, 74 Grand Street to be exact. And then I took a nice walk through Little Italy and Chinatown. Enjoy your time. Have a great Labor Day weekend, my friend. Yeah, I know. Free MPLS. Says, imagine needing a board's approval for your move. It's unreal, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, that is something that is very unusual about New York City co-ops, right? So for those of you who are unfamiliar with New York City co-ops, it doesn't matter if you have enough money to buy the apartment, right? Let's say if the 2-bedroom apartment is $2.5 million and you have $2.5 million cash, ready to move, ready to close on a moment's notice. No, not so fast. Doesn't work like that. Doesn't matter how much money you have. You have to go through a board process. You have to do rounds of interviews, and you have to be accepted by the co-op board and get approved. Pretty much they allow you to buy the property. Now, many people think this is discriminatory in nature, and it's kind of like a little bit of an oxymoron, I guess, because New York City has some of the strictest fair housing laws anywhere in the United States. But a co-op board does not have to give you a reason as to why they denied you. I'll say that again. A co-op board does not, by law, have to give you a reason as to why they denied you. It could potentially be, let's say if you work for a big investment bank and there's a managing director at Jefferies that's, one of the heads of the boards on this co-op board, and he gets wind that somebody from Goldman Sachs wants to live in the building. He could say, nope, don't like Goldman Sachs. Denied, even though they have the ability and the capacity to buy the apartment. It's a little weird. And I want everybody to look up this particular condominium in New York. The condominium is called Olympic Tower. Okay, so Olympic Tower sits right behind St. Patrick's Cathedral. And what's so unique about Olympic Tower is it's one of the first luxury condominiums in Midtown Manhattan that was built essentially for this specific reason and this specific problem. Ooh, look at that. That's an awesome shot of Chrysler Building and One Vanderbilt in one. That is a really cool shot. We're actually now near the UN. This is the United Nations here. Very cool. We've almost never come over here. You can see all this security, maximum security here at the UN. There's cameras everywhere. But Olympic Tower was built essentially for a lot of foreigners, right? There was a lot of foreign investors that wanted to buy on Manhattan's Upper East Side, but they kept getting denied because, generally speaking, back in the day, a lot of the co-op boards didn't want foreigners living in the building, right? They were discriminatory based on that. They wanted American money. They wanted traditional American wealth. So condominiums, you don't have that problem. Anybody could buy it, right? Now, this kind of backfired on a lot of the co-ops because nowadays, especially the millennials and the Gen Z, they want to live in condos. They want to live in these, ultra luxury high rises with saltwater pools, with gyms, with dog spas, with all kinds of crazy stuff. And what you're seeing now is a lot of the co-ops on the Upper East Side are actually trading at a steep discount compared to some of these condos. It's kind of interesting how the real estate market has changed Here's a better view of the United Nations here. Yeah, CSS's condos are nothing more than fancy projects. But you know what? A lot of people want it. You know, I see it every day. You know, some of the inquiries that I get is, you know, my budget's $3 million, but the building needs to have a pool and it needs to have a physical doorman. I don't want a virtual doorman. Some people like that white glove service. Kind of crazy. Hey, Daryl, this is Tom. I'd rather live in a townhouse or a low-rise apartment. I guess it's all about preference. I mean, if that's the case for you, Daryl, you'd probably love the Village, West Village, Greenwich Village, maybe even living in a brownstone, something like that on the Upper West Side. I'm really glad we came all the way over here. We never come over here on the live stream. Look at that full moon out. Hey, AUS Fly Girl says, I appreciate the point about Olympic Tower and the fact that St. Patrick's Cathedral is iconic, won't change, and therefore keeps the better views. Yeah, that's also true. It's very strategically placed, right? Because St. Patrick's isn't going anywhere. It's never going to be taken down, so you have protected views to the south. My friend has an apartment in there. Maybe one day, if I ever get a listing in Olympic Tower, I'll be able to do a property tour. Now, the building's a little bit older, right? The gym is very, very small in there. But I think that building has some of the best views in all of Manhattan. It's crazy, the views that that building has. Depending on which floor you're on, the north-facing units actually have pretty decent views of Central Park, too. Look at this NYPD police surveillance van. This is probably the most secure part of Manhattan. Would anybody agree with that? I'd probably say near the UN and then probably by the World Trade Center. Yeah, CSS, that is right. So I spent about a decade in tech sales. Now I'm on the Kirsten Jordan team at Douglas Elliman. Many people know her as being the first female broker on $1 Million Listing New York. And her husband owns a small private equity firm. This is the Trump World Tower, so I'll also be working with him on some pretty interesting deals. And he's a developer from Italy. So a lot of the product that we sell, his firm will develop. So I think it'll give me a lot of good experience developing real estate in both New York City and Miami. And I love sales. I love storytelling. I think that's what I'm good at. And long term, that's what I want to do. I want to build my own buildings in Manhattan and in Miami. And maybe even acquire some, distressed office properties and do a condo conversion. And I think now is sort of the time to do that, right? I think the opportunity is now. This is something we've been talking about on the live streams for a while. The vast majority of commercial real estate debt or commercial paper is going to need to be refinanced, right? And when all of that commercial paper is refinanced, guess what? It's going to be at significantly higher rates. Now, the problem is when that debt is refinanced, this is the Trump Tower here, costs are going to go up, right? So your carry is going to go way, way up, but your revenues are declining because New York City commercial real estate, particularly office, has some of the highest vacancy rates in its history. So a lot of these buildings, I think, are going to be going into foreclosure, and there's going to be, some investors that'll be able to pick this stuff up for pennies on the dollar. I mean, I'm seeing deals out there that have about $85 million worth of bad debt, And if you can get a partner, right? If you can go GPLP like 1090 and do an all cash deal, you could pick up like $100 million properties for 50 million bucks, right? Now, granted, you'll probably need to put, $25 million, $30 million worth of work into it to get it rent ready. But if you can get some really good properties that are strategically, along Fifth Avenue, near Billionaires Row, and you remodel them, make them nice, retail, you'll probably get about $500 a square foot, give or take, depending on how prime the location is. And office, maybe you could price that at $80 a square foot. Over 40,000. If you're looking at a deal that's like 40,000 square feet of rentable space, those are good deals. Those deals will pencil, and they're coming. Oh boy, are they coming. I promise you they're coming. I promise you they are. Over the next 2 years, you'll probably see some of the deals that I do. All right, East 49th Street. I'm in love with this area. It's so quiet. Like, notice the difference. We were walking through Midtown Manhattan. There was people flooding every corner. There's almost nobody here. This is really, really nice, particularly to live, right? If you're at the office all day in Midtown Manhattan, you want to kind of come home to a place that is quiet. Very low street traffic here too. Now, as we head up, keep in mind, this is 49th Street. We're actually going to head all the way up to 59th Street. The further we walk up, the quieter it's going to get. I just want to have you keep your mind on that. And then we're going to sort of meander and zigzag between all these cross streets, and you're going to see just what I'm talking about. Some of these beautiful co-op buildings and townhouses as well. So, hey, Palmetti's, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. I see my friend Sally is here. Welcome. I know, CSS, that the Trump, what is that? The Trump World Plaza there? Now, say whatever you want about Trump. I'm not a political guy. I couldn't care less who you vote for, Biden, who else. I couldn't care less. The Trump buildings, I like the designs of them. The lobbies are super grand. They're these like massive grand lobbies. And this is going to sound funny. I'm going to say it, but it's going to sound funny. But it's true. I promise you it's true. The Trump buildings, right, particularly Trump Tower right there on Fifth Avenue, he keeps the lobbies of his building so freaking cold, he cranks the AC in those buildings. Every other office building that I've been in Manhattan, it's almost like they don't even turn the AC on because of all this ESG stuff, right? My office, which is 575 Madison Avenue, there's no AC. It's hot. I'm sweating in the office. I can't even go there. But his tower, my God, is probably the least environmentally friendly tower in Manhattan. It feels so nice inside. It's like an ice box. It's like you're sitting in a refrigerator. It's awesome. Anyway, all right, East 51st. Well, I really like this entrance to this building. Let's check that out for a moment. Very quiet. You have parking in your building, which is always nice. This is a very, very Upper East Side building. Like, this is very Upper East Side. Somebody's asking if I've ever been to the US Open. I have not, but I would love to go. Look at all the wood paneling here. That is gorgeous. It's almost like walking into a library. It's kind of like the Morgan Library a little bit. You have this nice restaurant across the street, very quiet. I feel very relaxed here. Again, this is First Avenue. Rain 12 says, have you ever been to the Indy 500? I have not. But, you know, speaking of racing, you know what I would actually like to go to? I think I may enjoy it. That I would give it a chance. I think I'd like to go see one of the Formula One races. Now, at first I was kind of opposed to it. I was like, all right, this is a little bit silly, but I don't know. I think I would want to see it in person. Anybody here a big Formula One racing fan, by the way? If I'm not mistaken, I believe they had the Formula One event in Miami last year. Or this year, excuse me. And it was extremely, like, ridiculously expensive. Like, for no reason. Which leads me to believe a lot of those events are not necessarily about the sports. It's more so about, like, the networking opportunities, I guess. I don't know. This is a very quaint and cute pizzeria wine bar. It looks nice. I like the tablecloths. Very traditional, very classic. I'm glad we came to the Upper East Side tonight. Hey, how are you?
Doing?
Good to see you. That's a nice guy. Marks, you would have had a few drinks with Tom Cruise at Formula One. Did Tom Cruise actually go to that? I don't know. Tom Cruise seems to be like a wild guy, so I could definitely see him at the Formula One events. Yeah, Ollie Star says, Tom, this has become one of my favorite areas of your travels. This is a nice florist shop here. Yeah, I think it's nice for a change to get away from, you know, the hustle and bustle of Midtown Manhattan and just kind of relax for a little bit. I think the Upper East Side is very good at that. Although I do like the Upper West Side a little bit better, but Upper East Side is growing on me. We'll wait for the light here. Gabriel says this Formula One will be in Vegas. Hey, Kaka Silva is here. Welcome. Says I am a fan of Formula One. They are in Italy now. Very cool. All right, only a couple more blocks and then we will be at our desired destination. Wow, Jared says I'm going to the Vegas race in November. Please report back and let us know how you enjoyed it. Hey, Eddie H says F1 will be in Vegas this November. $6,500 a ticket. Whoa. Eddie says, do I think properties in Vegas are overvalued? Well, I'll tell you a story about Las Vegas. I was getting pitched like crazy to move there. Now, I'm not, like, I think Vegas is great. You know, I have a lot of respect for the people of Las Vegas. It's just not for me. It's just not for me. I gotta be by the water. I gotta be by the ocean. I can't live there. I've been there a couple times on business trips. Some business, you know, partners of mine and, you know, former colleagues at one point were like really, really hard pressing me to seriously consider moving to Vegas. I could never live there. I actually don't understand how people live there. It's a beautiful place. It's just too dry. I got to be near the water. I got to be near the ocean. And that's actually why I decided on Miami, Florida. Now, I think with anything, Vegas has, if you look at the real estate history of Las Vegas, Vegas goes through these very aggressive boom and bust cycles, particularly in 2008. some of the markets in the US that crashed the most during the '08 financial crisis were places like Vegas, were places like Miami, Tampa, Florida. Now that is because a lot of those places people were buying third, fourth, and fifth homes. But I think what's different this time, and those are always the famous last words, you know, what's different this time, is that real job creation and good paying jobs have come to Florida, have come to South Florida. And I guess you could say the same thing about Vegas. So, do I think real estate's overvalued there? I do. But that's just because there's been so much demand for purchasing in Vegas. Now, talking about expensive real estate, look at this. Right here. This is 432 Park Avenue. This is actually Harry Maclow's building. It was co-developed with CIM. And CIM Group actually foreclosed on Harry Maclow's personal units at 432 Park Avenue, if you can believe that. CIM Group was citing Harry Maclow's egregious, frivolous spending. That's not my words, it's actually their words. They weren't too enthused with Harry Maclow's lifestyle, so there's going to be a little bit of a battle over that building. But if you are all enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video, on the stream, and click the subscribe button if you're new. We do these streams mostly every day at 8:30. We'd love for you guys to come and join us. It's a pizza shop here. I don't know how this one is, but it's right on the corner of East 57th Street, which is officially Billionaires Row. And we've made it to Sutton Place. You can see the Sutton Wine Shop is here. And we're going to turn right, walk down here, and check out some of the amazing views of Sutton Place. Very quiet, very secluded here. Now again, all of these, most of them are co-ops, and you could actually get a pretty good deal here. But just keep in mind the buildings are going to be a little bit older, obviously, and there's going to be almost no amenities, pretty much no amenities. You'll just have a doorman. And that's why a lot of these co-ops are actually trading at discounts relative to condos in terms of the comparison of price per square foot. So if you're just looking for a place to live, something quiet, you don't need all these amenities, you could probably get more space in Sutton Place. That rhymed. You can get more space at Sutton Place for less. But just keep in mind, it's going to be an older building and you're not going to have all those amenities. So there are trade-offs, but if you can live without all of that stuff, I think it's a pretty good neighborhood to be. Hey, Ukrainian Royal is here. Says, hello Tom, it's nice to see you streaming. How are you? I went fishing today. Oh yeah, you're upstate New York, right? I had a pretty good day. My September is off to a phenomenal start, and I appreciate your generous donation. And we are checking out Sutton Place tonight. Look at the architecture on some of these buildings. Very beautiful. I'm going to stop talking for a minute just so you can take in all the surroundings and just see how quiet it is here. Drewski says this part of the city is my kind of vibe. It's mine too. It's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous here. And look at this. All the way in the distance, you could actually see the 59th Street Bridge. Very nice. So let's cross the street. And I'm going to take you to one of the many parks. There's a lot of free parks here. Now, if you were just to join the stream and you didn't read the description, chances are you would never believe that we are we're pretty much literally in Midtown Manhattan. 57th Street. You have views of Billionaires Row. You could see 432 Park Avenue in the distance. But the further you walk over, the quieter it gets. Very low street traffic. Very quiet. And notice how clean it is. The Upper East Side and Sutton Place is probably some of the most clean neighborhoods in Manhattan. Look at the contrast here between the beautiful building and this door. That's a gorgeous red oak door. Imagine actually having a front door in Manhattan, coming home to an actual real house. All of that beautiful black trim around the windows and that crisp white paint with that amazing accent door. It's phenomenal. There's a couple more. This one's really nice. I think these three townhomes here are some of my favorite. Yeah, it kind of does look like London a little bit. Now we're going to make a right onto Sutton Square. You have the 59th Street Bridge right here. But this is the money shot. And look at this beautiful canopy you have. You have these gorgeous tree-lined streets. You have beautiful views of the 59th Street Bridge going over to Roosevelt Island. I sort of stand back. They're actually doing complete gut renovations on a lot of these townhomes here. Look at this. The facades are stunning. They're gorgeous. Love the beautiful brick. And some of these have your personal garage. You know it's pricey in Manhattan. And you know you're in a very favorable neighborhood if you have a garage. So you have stunning views, look at that, of the 59th Street Bridge, your private garage, and it looks like this one's being totally gut renovated too. Wow, look at that. I don't know if you guys could see that, but that's someone's living room. It is unbelievably well furnished. So imagine having one of these townhomes here, having your own personal garage that is gated, private property, with beautiful Belgian block streets, and the views from your bedroom are the East River and the 59th Street Bridge overlooking Roosevelt Island. That is a rarity in Manhattan. Just imagine that. Your kitchen, your bedroom, and your living room have these unbelievable, unobstructed views of the East River and the 59th Street Bridge, and you're just a commute away, stone's throw away, a walk away from Midtown Manhattan. It's unbelievable, really. Could you imagine opening up those shutters, standing out on your balcony and looking at this? And these buildings have your own private backyard. So you actually have backyard space in Manhattan. So this is a nice park. You have all nice benches set up here throughout the entire public park. With pretty great views. And this is going to be the brand new East River Park. That's actually going to be an elevated walking, pedestrian path and bike path that's suspended right over the East River. This is a good shot of the bridge with the moon. Look at how fast the water's moving. Hawaii, that is true. It is probably really cold here in the winter. Joel PM, I wouldn't mind taking some violin lessons. I don't know, what do you guys think? What do you think of Sutton Place? I always like taking you guys here. What do you think? Thumbs up, thumbs down on Sutton Place. It's one of my favorite neighborhoods in the city to live. GGNYC says love it the best. I like how quiet it is. Hey, Duke 1773, what's up? Good to see you. Let's make a right here. Maybe we'll just have enough time to walk under the bridge. Hey, Carl, what's up? So an entire townhome? I mean, you're probably looking at, over 10 million for an entire townhome. Probably even more depending on how big it is. But you can get some deals on some 2-bedrooms here. Very cool. Now, I think there's a Trader Joe's inside the bridge. We'll check that out. Now, I would say the only drawdown about living this far over is you're very far away from the subways. So that's another thing you have to take into consideration too. If you move all the way over to Sutton Place, you are a little bit far away, but it's give or take. Here it is. Yeah, it ceases you far from the action, but I think once you've been in New York for a long time, you kind of get sick of the action a little bit, and you want a little bit of a retreat from the action. TJ Maxx. Over here is actually where you get the trolley, the Roosevelt tram. There's the Trader Joe's. This Greek restaurant's called Under the Bridge. Looks pretty good. I'll take you guys to the trolley entrance.
I'm about to pull up and go.
All right, as we approach the entrance to the 59th Street Bridge, I think we will call it Actually, I'll get you guys a little bit further. because this is a cool shot here. Walking under from this way, from the east side. I wonder what they're building here. Maybe this is just maintenance on the bridge. Yeah, it looks like it's just maintenance on the bridge. Anywho, all right, guys, I want to wish you a very happy September. I hope everything and anything you do this month is a raging, massive success. Yeah, I do. Happy Labor Day weekend to everybody. Please enjoy it responsibly and safely with your family and friends because you deserve it. If you enjoyed the live stream tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and we should be back tomorrow. If we're not live tomorrow, we will be live on Sunday. So I want everybody to enjoy the weekend, take some time to relax, take some time off, because it's going to get busy. Let me tell you, it is going to get very, very busy after Labor Day. So Richard Vogel, thank you. Brian, thanks for joining, and happy Labor Day weekend to you. Hawaii, have a great Labor Day weekend. Sunshine after rain. Joe Driver, Ali Star, Western Mass Dave, happy belated birthday to you. Tariq Khan, have a wonderful weekend. Happy Labor Day. Steph UF. Andrew Lee, as always. Abdullah, Muhammad, Joel PM. There's always a bull market somewhere. You just need to know where to look. Be safe this weekend and have a lot of fun. That's my only request to everybody. Be safe, have a lot of fun. We'll see you soon. Brad's Brain, take care. We'll see you next time.